Here's why you should never take dating advice from women if you're a man. Take you back to a little story. So here I am at 21 years old, and there's a woman who I have a huge crush on. And she's 23. She's 2 years older than me, but she was beautiful. Now, I actually ended up getting with her. We dated for a short period of time. But it went south. And it was because I listened to advice from a woman. So, let me give you a rundown of how this went. In my hometown, at the time, I had a lot of social status when I was younger because I was doing fitness coaching, and it was very not popular. There was like personal trainers that you could go to in a gym, like a commercial gym, but there was like nobody really doing it like online, okay? And then growing up, when I was a kid, like when I was like, 19, 20, 21 years old, I was watching a lot of like Gary Vee. So I was all about, learning how to work and being an entrepreneur, and he really inspired me because he basically had this message like it is possible. And I loved fitness. Like you guys can probably still tell, right? Like I love fitness. I love working out. I've never even really missed more than maybe a handful of workouts in the past 10 years that was not a unscheduled rest day. So there's this woman, and I had actually coached her friend. So I had some fitness clients, and then she had a friend who I coached. And she had a good transformation and like a good client result. And then I was like 21 or 22 years old, and then I go out to a bar one night, and then the girl I was coaching, or my fitness client, she was at that bar with her friend too. And then I even remember what I was wearing. I was wearing like a red sweater and some jeans, I think. And I was like shy and nervous, right? Like I looked good, but like I didn't have that much experience dating like super pretty girls back in the day. Like I had to go through the trials and tribulations to learn what to do and what not to do. So it was funny, like my default back in the day when I was like real shy, I'd sit there and I'd just be quiet because I was like too scared to talk. But then like since I like looked good, or since like the woman thought I was attractive, like a lot of times like I wasn't like every girl's type, but like I'll post an old picture here of me. Like I definitely had like a look. Like if the woman was drawn to like a dude with like tan skin, greenish blue eyes, flowy blonde hair, like that was the girl's type, then I was probably the chosen one at the time. And that's just how it went. I'm not saying that to brag. It's just, obviously you can tell by this picture, like I had a specific look. It's just the way I was born. So it's funny though, when I was so shy, like it would work in my favor. Because I wouldn't talk, and they would just assume that I don't have interest, and then they would try to spark a conversation, or they think that like I'm playing hard to get or something, or I don't know. It would just make them chase a lot of times. And this even worked in 7th grade. It was so funny. I remember 7th grade, there was a girl who liked me. She was in my choir class, and it was so funny because at one of the school dances in middle school, or one of the school parties in 7th grade, she had her friends go and say that like, oh, she really liked me, or she wanted to dance with me, or she wanted me to like talk to her. And it was so funny because at the time, she was actually my class crush. So like I had a crush on her out of the whole class of choir, and then she had a crush on me. And I never said one word to her. And it's funny, like out of all the dudes there, like we happen to have a crush on each other. So it's funny how life works, right? Like a lot of times like attraction is unspoken. You can try your best to say the right thing, right? Like it's an internal feeling, right? She either likes you or she doesn't, man. All you can do is make yourself the best you can be. So anyways, I'm at this bar, okay? I'm at this bar, and I go there with my friends, and I was shy, but I looked good, or like she thought I was attractive, or I had high social status from coaching a lot of women. Like I had a lot of female clients who were in my fitness programs. And that's just how it was. I wasn't the biggest, like I wasn't like the best bodybuilder, but like I had a pretty good physique. So I got all these fitness signups, long story short, and I'm sitting there at the bar, and then I can see them like hinting at me, and I'm like playing or I'm acting shy, because I was actually shy. Like, I thought she was super pretty. This was a brunette girl, and her friend was like nudging her to talk to me, and then she started talking to me. Exchanged a few sentences, a few words. She was probably nervous, I was probably nervous. Well, then we ended up adding each other on Snapchat, or we started messaging back and forth on Instagram a couple weeks later. This was leading into that summer. And then we started to see each other. And I remember the first time we hung out, I think actually she invited me to her house. At the time, she lived with her parents, and her parents were out of town, and she invited me over. And I got there, and I remember she was nervous. Like, we were sitting there snuggling up on the couch, and her, like, I could tell, like, her heart was racing, and she had, like, super shallow breathing, so she was nervous. She was, like, really into me. But of course, you know, I didn't have enough experience or enough confidence to, like, maintain frame, if you want to call it that. Back then, there was no word of frame. No guy walked around and talked about frame. No one talked about masculine frame. Like, dude, when I grew up, man, nobody even said the word masculinity. Dudes just hung out and partied. Partied on the river. So simple. You'd party on the river, you'd meet people. Go boating, go jet skiing, go on a pontoon. Doesn't even have to be a nice, expensive boat, right? People would just go do stuff. Nowadays, people don't do that. Anyways, so we're at a bar. We meet. We end up exchanging Instagrams or Snapchats. I was talking to the friend because I coached the friend, and she had interest. So she invites me over. I go over. Things are good. We end up seeing each other for, I think, like a month or two, maybe closer to 2 months. And she's coming over, you know, sometimes on weekends or like after the work day. We're seeing each other, and I'm just head over heels in love, right? Like, I really liked her, you know. And it was funny because, like, I went from, like, not really having any options, like, when I was younger, to, like, all of a sudden being, like, a really desirable dude in my early 20s. So I went from, like, having no female experience to all of a sudden, like, in my hometown, I was hanging out with, like, the hottest women, or the hottest girls at the time. Those are the women I had access to date. So I had to grow up quick, if you want to call it that. Like, I had to go from shy and nervous and insecure to, like, you better figure this out quick, because these women want to talk to you and they want to communicate. So my younger years, I had a lot of options, which is how I learned all this. And at this point, so I'll explain how things started to go south. First off, she had just got out of a long-term relationship, and at the time, I didn't even have a lot of dating or relationship experience at all. So, like, I probably wasn't, like, I was nervous, you know. I definitely, like, wasn't good in bed, you know. Like, I was nervous. I was, like, at the time, she might have even been the hottest girl, or one of the hottest girls I had ever been with, or anyways. When I was younger, I was always in this mindset with the cell phone where I had to keep talking to them. Like, I thought that once two people talk, because you have a cell phone and because you can both communicate, what I always thought was that both people have to keep talking or things will fizzle out. So, like, she would send me a Snapchat, I would always reply within, 5-10 minutes, and I would just keep talking, and I would keep having the conversation going, because you don't want to make the other person feel not wanted, is what my mind thought. Like, I want to keep talking to her, I want this to go somewhere, so I have to keep being available. So she was receiving pretty much, like, all of my attention and all this stuff, but we weren't, like, actually dating. But all the other options that I had, I basically put on the back burner, and I didn't want them anymore because I was in love with her. And then, oh gosh, I have more stories. I'll say another one tomorrow. I'll make another video tomorrow on this stuff. Anyways, so we're Snapchatting back and forth. And then she went out with her friends one night. And, like, there was a period of time where, like, she didn't Snapchat me back, or it was, like, a lot of hours or something in between. And then when I'd hear from her, it was, like, sporadic. But she was still being, like, overly flirtatious on Snapchat and stuff. So I get back to my apartment, and I'm with my friends. And then one of the dudes I was friends with, he invited a couple girls over. So we're all just sitting there hanging out, and I didn't have interest in these women, and I don't know if they had interest in me. We were just sitting there, like, eating pizza late at night talking. And at the time, like, I didn't know very much, right? Like, I just was observing my situation. So I was just speaking freely, and I was saying, like, yeah, like, I'm talking to this girl. And of course, like, she was pretty. She was one of the prettiest girls in town at the time. So all the girls knew, like, I was talking to her. And this is where I took advice from a woman when it came to my dating life. And I was saying how, like, yeah, like, I really want to date her. I really want her to be my girlfriend. I like her a lot. I just, like, I can't read her. I don't know if she likes me like that, or I don't know if she'd want to date me. And I don't know what to do, and she's out with her friends, and I don't know where she's at. And, you know, the girls would sit there and, like, ask more questions. Oh, where is she tonight? And all this stuff, right? Trying to be nosy. And I didn't know what to say, so I was just explaining the situation. Like, yeah, I haven't really heard from her or nothing. Like, I didn't know what to say. And, of course, like, if a woman sees you talking to another desirable woman who has interest in you, she doesn't want to see that girl have you, or she doesn't want to see you with her, right? That's how it seems most of the time. So then one of the girls there at my apartment starts giving me advice as we're eating pizza, and she goes, you know what you should do? You should just go call her, right? You should just go call her tonight. Go call her up and go tell her how you feel. You should go tell her how you feel and tell her that you really want to date. And I was so nervous, and, like, in my stomach, like, I could feel like it was weak, but I didn't know how to put it into words, and I didn't know if it would work or not. But since she was a girl giving me the advice, my logic at the time was like, oh, she's a girl, so she'll know what girls like. Not realizing that this would completely burn me. So I took her advice. And then at about 11 o'clock rolled around, and I texted her and I said, hey, can you call me? And then it's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm downstairs in my bedroom. And I'll never forget this because I didn't really sleep much that night because I was so heartbroken, or I was just sad. But, you know, you learn. A nice thing about me, too, is, like, since I've, over the past 10 years, had experiences where I've been with a lot of, like, hot women, just, like, overall hot women. Like, most dudes would look at the women who I've been with and been like, yeah, she's hot. Since I've had that, right, it's been nice because I essentially became a bit, like, desensitized to any sort of, like, outcome dependency. So now at this point in my life, I'm almost 30 years old. I don't really care how stuff goes, right? Because, like, I understand, like, not only my worth, but I know, like, the attractiveness of women that I can get in a dating interaction. But at the time, I was in a scarcity mindset because there wasn't a lot of women in my hometown that were super attractive, and I really liked her. Like, I wanted her. I was the type of guy, like, I would have just been with her. There was that experience with me with a lot of women where, like, I didn't need a bunch of options. I didn't want a bunch of options. Like, I didn't need to have a 5-woman rotation, or I didn't need all that. I'd have been happy just finding, like, one hot girl who really likes me, and I really like her, and us just being together. And I am the type where, like, I have more characteristics of, like, naturally, like, loyalty, and, like, I don't like to betray people. Like, naturally, I like being a good person. But that never worked out for me. And then every girl I ever wanted, when I had that old mindset, they never liked me. You know, maybe they'd sleep with me or be with me for a period of time, but I could never retain their interest. That was my biggest issue, is I couldn't retain. I always did okay with attracting, you know, and even getting laid, but my issue was retaining their interest. So I call her up on the phone and I tell her how I feel, and I tell her, like, hey, you know, I know we didn't talk much tonight, or I know we didn't see each other this weekend, but, you know, I really want you to be my girlfriend, or I really want us to be together, and I really like you, and yeah, I want us to be a couple, is basically what I told her. And she told me on the phone that she didn't see it going anywhere, and that she's just not into me that way anymore, or that she's just not interested. And I was really sad. I think that night I cried after I hung up. And I held it together on the phone. My voice was probably a little weak and whimpering a little bit because I was definitely shook. But yeah, I remember I didn't sleep at all that night. And then I'd still have to see her at the gym afterwards because the town was so small. Now she's married with a kid, at least she has one, I know for sure. Yeah, never talked to her again after that. It's funny though, there was one time I was at a restaurant. It's funny though, my hometown is so small. There was one time, this was probably about 2 years ago. I'm at this restaurant and I'm actually on a date at the time, and I'm eating, and I was like at the bar eating, and she ended up sitting like right beside me with her husband. And this was like fast forward now 5-6 years later. And I just thought it was funny, like, and by then obviously I was over it, you know, and we didn't say hi to each other. I don't come from like the biggest town, right? Like I grew up in a city that's not that big, so like stuff like that would happen. You know, in the hometown I grew up in, like if you slept with a girl or if she slept with you, right? Like, and let's say it fizzles out, if you go out, you're gonna have to see her every weekend forever, right? That's the type of hometown I grew up in. But yeah, that's when I learned to not take dating advice from women. And I learned that anything they say a lot of times, if you try to apply it, it backfires. So yeah, I'll tell you guys more stories if you want to keep hearing them. But yeah, if I'd have to think how many times I've actually been heartbroken, let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Is it 4? Yeah, I think there's about 4 times in my life I was really, really heartbroken. And that's how I learned a lot of this, was through pain. Right? A lot of pain over the years to figure all this out. Years ago, I wouldn't have had the strength to tell you all this. Now, as I'm older, I just don't care. When I was younger, I would have even been like nervous if like a woman would see me say this and then like I'm gonna look not desirable. I just don't care anymore. I don't care. I am who I am, and my stories made me who I am. My parents' divorce growing up is a whole situation that shaped me into who I am. Yeah. But I've had a lot of experiences with women, and I've had experiences where I was with women that were so hot at the time, I didn't even understand how I was attracting them. I didn't even understand, like I didn't even think like there was any chance I'd ever have access to a woman that beautiful. And because of that, what happens when you're around super beautiful women is it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? They're so beautiful and pretty that you think they could cause no pain. But you realize that it's the worst pain you'll ever go through, right? So you got to grow up quick. You got to learn quick. I personally don't think I would have had any of these experiences to tell you had I not been in the gym. I think me prioritizing physique over the past 10, 11 years is what made me have more options to give you guys more dating experience. And I think that the physique definitely matters, and you get treated a certain way and you get way more choosing signals. Food for thought. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.